What is your full name?
Thomas Medford Hogg,
Where were you born?
Poplar Bluff, Missouri,
And what year would that be and month?
1921.
1921. When World War II began, were you living in Poplar Bluff? And what were you doing right before the war began?
I was living in Poplar Bluff, and I volunteered for the Army Air Corps. They sent me to Santa Ana Army Air Base in Santa Ana, California.
Now, how did you hear about World War II?
I was walking out of the picture show. Everybody was talking about Pearl Harbor, and I had never heard of Pearl Harbor. Nobody ever did. Well, that was the first I heard about it. Didn't even know where Pearl Harbor was. Never heard of it.
And what were your first thoughts about Japan bombing Pearl Harbor, that place that you didn't even know about yet? Was it more or less confusion, or did you think that the war was going to begin?
I was confused about it. I really had sunk in yet, and I didn't know where Pearl Harbor was or anything like that. But it was a sneak attack by Japan.
When did you think about enlisting?
Well, right then, I thought about it, and I went home to Mom and I told her I was going to enlist. Well, Mom didn't want me to go. My mother didn't want me to go. And I went down and volunteered. And so we had to have physicals. And Mr. Jones, who was a veteran of World War I, was taking the office. They would take 10 men at a time and give them physicals, and then send them, and they'd be fit for service, and would okay them for service then.
And what year would that be, roughly?
And I guess 1942.
And what branch of service did you consider?
The Army Air Corps.
The Army Air Corps.
What month?
What month?
It must have been July, because it was real hot. And we got on a train, and all the volunteers in Poplar Bluff, we got a leader, and there was about 10 of us, and they put us on a train, and to move us out to Santa Ana. And I remember it was so hot. Everybody on the train, and you'll see some pictures of me. Take all our clothes off except the shorts, except the underwear.
Did you make any friends when you were in the training?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I made one. I made one real good friend. And see, they were going to CDD me out because they said I had tuberculosis. I blabbed out that my sister had TB, and I had an uncle that had TB, and so they were gonna CDD me out, civil disability discharge.
Now,
Was that take?
yes. Now, you have a photo of yourself wearing a uniform. What is the story behind that uniform?
And had a real good friend out there that, see, they were going to CDD me out. And he let me wear his uniform, his dress uniform, up to the Hollywood canteen. That's where the movie stars would come out there, and he serve you donuts and cookies and soda pop and things like that. And so he let me borrow his uniform, and that's one you see, and so I could go out there and do that. So I was in Hollywood, the Hollywood canteen.
Now, who was the friend who lent you his uniform? What was his name?
Boy, that's too long ago. I remember what happened.
What happened to him afterwards?
He went on to fly a B-24 or B-25 plane during World War II. And he was flying this plane over in somewhere around Japan.
Guam.
Hmm.
Guam. Guam.
Might have been Guam. Anyway, he was flying this plane, and it quit on him. The plane quit on him and crashed and killed him. It all went up as just a ball of flames. But that was it was not unusual for that plane to quit on him, to have problems on takeoff. But he was killed, and he was killed.
Have you ever heard of
Yeah.
what were the war bond rallies?
War bonds, you buy them to bring in money for the war, because it costs a lot of money to send it to the soldiers and everything. It just doubled the money, and so you bought war bonds, and that was to increase your to help out with the cost of the war. And everybody bought war bonds. I don't remember whether I bought any or not, but I was probably in the army at the time.
Now, what were the food rationings like, if you remember them, like back home?
They were in short supply because you had to serve the army. So you were rationed out just so much of certain foods. Try to make do with what you could, and everybody was supposed to plant a victory garden. That is, plant a garden and raise some of your own food, because you had to feed the soldiers, and they had to have so much. So everybody supposed to have a victory garden. So I had a victory garden. Well, that was later on, but.
Yeah. Did you have any other relatives that went and served? And if so, where did they serve in World War II?
Paul served in the army. Of course, he was married, and I guess Danny was born by about that time, and so he served, and he served as kind of going up the cleanup after the army. So he was overseas, and after kind of it close to the end of the war. I think he met General Eisenhower.
Really?
Yeah.
Where were you, if you can remember, on VE Day, Victory in Europe Day?
If I remember correctly, I'd gone with Rick Sanson and his brother-in-law fishing on Current River. And when we were coming back, you had to, rubber tires were scarce all during the war, and you had to carry about 3 extra tires on your car in case you had a flat. Well, you'd have a tire to replace it. And a fellow named Bud Tellner, and we'd been fishing on the Current River, and a fellow named Bud Tellner, and came by, and he said, and hollered, "The war's over, the war's over."
And that would be
Germany surrendered.
What were some of the most profound memories you had during World War II?
Well, I guess when they CDD'd me out of the army, called it civilian disability. Then I got home, and I went to the doctor, and he x-rayed me and everything, and says, there's nothing wrong with you. You don't have TB or anything. Says you do have a little spot or a spot on your lung is when you have TB. Says you do have a little something on it, but that doesn't mean a thing. Says everybody in Butler County has it.
Right.
That was my memory. Yeah,
Now,
I came home and kind of with my tail between my legs, thinking that
You got nothing to be ashamed of.
I had, yeah,
Served your country proudly.
yeah. Now wait a minute. What was the question?
what did you do for work after World War II? Right after the war, what did you do? You know?
Well, I went back to work for the railroad, and there in Poplar Bluff, and of course this is what you're supposed to do. Anybody after the war, they got their job back, and so I got my job back with Reserve Civic as chief clerk, as a clerk steno in Poplar Bluff.
Okay. What were some of the most profound memories you had during World War II?
Well, when this profound memories the worst the memory I have is this guy and this man in his flying a B-24 or 25, which went down in the jungle. It failed. It failed and went down. That was my my most outstanding memory. And I've already told you that about him.
What lessons for today's generation would you like to pass on? If you had a podium in front of today's generation, what would you say to them? Considering that you have
I would
lived through
say
the world.
be honest and be faithful. Be honest, be faithful. and that like the old saying, honesty is the best policy. And play fair and square.
There we go. Okay.
What?
Let's do the Gettysburg Address. Okay.
407 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we're engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so dedicated and so conceived can long endure. It is rather for us.
We're met on a great battlefield
We have met on a great battlefield
of that war,
of that war.
testing whether this nation